last week was a very big week, objectively a huge week. We had quite a few announcements. It's the first live-action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me, I'm Snow White, which is so funny to say.
Okay, pure white stands. Hold on to your popcorn, this drama is about to get ugly. We're referring to the 1937 Disney live-action adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a beloved classic that had all the makings of a fairy tale. Revive a well-loved tale with a fresh perspective and a glamorous new cast, but problems to understand, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Things didn't go exactly as planned, and we're not pleased about it. From the casting to the artistic decisions, there's more drama here than in the entire Disney princess lineup. First, the shocking casting news: Rachel Zegler played Snow White. Yes, Disney decided to cast a Latina as Snow White. While some thought this was a welcome change, others saw it as disrespectful to the story's German origins. As a result, there was a wave of protest. Internet, where detractors argue that Snow White ought to have stayed more true to the European folktales original.
Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office. They are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea. Maybe not destroy a classic from my childhood and put an actress in there that not only hates the plot and the storyline of the movie she's in, but also seemingly hates Snow White the character.
Diversity and casting are often praised, but this time they generated a heated discussion about there has been growing debate over whether Disney has veered too far from what made its original classic so beloved, particularly with its remakes. A recent flashpoint in this conversation has been the live-action adaptation of Snow White, with many wondering if the changes have stripped away the charm that made the 1937 animated classic so special. However, Rachel Zegler herself, the actress portraying Snow White in the upcoming film, was what really fueled the fire. In several interviews, she took aim at the original, which left longtime fans and purists shocked. Zegler didn't mince words when discussing the 1937 version of Snow White. She openly criticized the film for being outdated, a sentiment that some modern audiences may agree with, but which also felt like a direct attack on a piece of cinematic history that has been cherished for decades. One of her most eyebrow-raising comments was about the relationship between Snow White and Prince Charming. Rather than portraying it as the sweet fairy tale romance that Disney has always marketed, Zegler described it as problematic and even stalkerish. Her remarks quickly went viral, leaving fans divided. While some appreciated her modern take, others felt she had gone too far in dismissing the innocence of the original. To many, this critique of the prince's character seemed out of place, given the context of a fantasy fairy tale made almost a century ago. For a lot of Disney loyalists, this felt like a betrayal of what Snow White stands for, stirring even more controversy over the direction Disney has taken with its reimaginings.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Rachel Zegler has been vocal about the significant shift in the portrayal of Snow White in Disney's upcoming live-action adaptation. According to Zegler, this modern version of the iconic character will not be centered around the traditional fairy tale narrative of finding true love or waiting for a prince to rescue her. Instead, the new Snow White is all about personal growth, independence, and leadership. Gone are the days when Snow White's dreams revolved around being saved by a prince and living happily ever after. In this reimagined version, the story focuses on Snow White's journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Zegler explained that this iteration of the character will be fearless, fair, and brave, much like the qualities her father always believed she could embody. The emphasis on Snow White becoming a leader highlights a major thematic shift from the 1937 classic, where the character's arc was more passive, revolving around innocence and kindness while relying on external forces to determine her fate. In this new adaptation, Snow White will be in charge of her own destiny, controlling her life and the challenges she faces. According to Zegler, her character's strength and courage will define her, setting her apart from the traditional damsel in distress narrative that has long been associated with Disney princesses. The focus on leadership and self-reliance aligns with modern storytelling, where female characters are often depicted as active agents in their own stories rather than waiting for someone to rescue them. This transformation of Snow White into a more progressive, dynamic character has been both praised and critiqued, as fans of the original grapple with the changes. Nonetheless, this new take aims to inspire a new generation, showcasing a Snow White who's more relatable and capable of carving out her own path.
The reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic.
While some fans applauded Rachel's boldness, others clutched their pearls, claiming that Rachel had completely missed the meaning of the original fairy tale. One fan even went so far as to say, "This is no longer Snow White, it's just some random movie using her name." Wow, that's some serious shade. But the controversy didn't end there. Disney said that the film would not even include the 7 dwarfs, rather, it would have a cast of fantastical animals. In fact, Disney dwarfs are essentially the co-stars of the original narrative.
Now there's the controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings.
Yeah,
They won't even
7
say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves.
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
They're remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group, you just erased that whole image.
Fans were absolutely outraged when early reports suggested that Disney's live-action Snow White would not feature the beloved 7 dwarfs, including fan favorites like Dopey, Grumpy, and the rest of the iconic gang. For many, the thought of a Snow White story without these characters was unthinkable, as they've been an integral part of the original 1937 film's charm and magic. Social media platforms were quickly flooded with complaints, with fans expressing their frustration and disbelief. Many accused Disney of taking things too far in their efforts to modernize the classic, labeling the decision as an unnecessary attempt to be woke at the expense of tradition. The backlash was swift and intense, with thousands of fans voicing their concerns over the creative direction of the remake. Critics argued that while updating certain aspects of a film to suit modern sensibilities can be positive, removing such beloved characters seemed like an overreach. The 7 dwarfs, with their distinct personalities and quirky dynamics, had always been a crucial part of Snow White's story, adding humor, heart, and emotional depth to the tale. Many longtime Disney enthusiasts felt that the magic of the film would be lost without them. The uproar became so widespread that Disney had little choice but to listen. The outcry prompted the studio to reconsider its stance and ultimately backtrack on the decision. In response to the fan fury, Disney announced that the dwarfs would indeed be included in the live-action remake, signaling a return to the more familiar elements that made the original film so special. While the adaptation may still feature modern twists, the decision to bring back the dwarfs was seen as a victory for fans, reassuring them that the heart of the classic story would remain intact. But even then, the damage was done, and the kicker when fans saw the CGI versions of the dwarfs, they were not impressed. Some even said it looked like something out of Shrek. With its awkward Uncanny Valley vibe, people are wondering why didn't Disney hire real actors with dwarfism, especially when there were so many talented. David Hand, the son of one of the original directors of Disney's Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, recently voiced his strong disapproval of the live-action remake, calling it an insult to his father's legacy. He did not hold back in his criticism, accusing Disney of losing touch with what made the original film magical and timeless. According to Hand, the new version deviates far from the essence of the 1937 classic, and in his own words, they've lost sight of what made Snow White special. His harsh remarks struck a chord with many fans, who have also expressed similar frustrations over Disney's reimagining of the beloved tale. Hand's sentiments seem to echo a broader backlash from fans who feel that Disney is drifting too far from the original heart of its stories in an effort to modernize them. The changes being made to Snow White, including shifts in character dynamics, plot, and messaging, have left many longtime admirers of the film feeling disconnected and disappointed. For these fans, the original was more than just a fairy tale, it was a piece of cinematic history that carried a universal, timeless appeal. However, if you thought this was the final chapter in the controversy, think again. Enter the Daily Wire, the conservative media company, which saw an opportunity amidst the backlash. The outlet swooped in, announcing plans to create its own version of Snow White. Their promise? A remake that stays true to the original Grimm Brothers fairy tale without the modern politics that have come to define Disney's latest projects. This alternative version has been met with excitement from fans of the classic story. who are eager to see a rendition that reflects the original, unfiltered narrative. The prospect of a remake that honors the fairy tale's roots while avoiding contemporary reinterpretations has already garnered significant support. Brett Cooper's take on the Snow White remake is swiftly winning hearts and capturing attention. The release of the first teaser for Cooper's version has been met with an overwhelmingly positive response from fans, who are eager to see how this new interpretation unfolds. The enthusiasm for Cooper's portrayal has been palpable, with fans declaring their preference for her approach over Rachel Zegler's, calling it a clear win for Cooper. One fan's comment summed up the sentiment: if there's a showdown between Brett Cooper and Rachel Zegler, Cooper wins hands down. This remark underscores the growing admiration for Cooper's respectful and gracious handling of her role. Unlike Zegler, who has attracted headlines for her outspoken criticisms of the original Snow White story, describing it as outdated and even weird, Cooper has maintained a notably different stance. Brett Cooper has consistently expressed gratitude for her role, focusing on the positive aspects of her involvement rather than engaging in public disputes or controversies. She has impressed fans with her professionalism and love of the classic story. The contrast between Cooper's classy demeanor and Zegler's more controversial remarks has not gone unnoticed. Many fans have praised Cooper for her ability to navigate the spotlight with dignity and respect, further endearing her to the audience. The favorable reception of Cooper's teaser and her respectful attitude highlight a growing preference for authenticity and grace in the face of public scrutiny. Fans are clearly drawn to Cooper's commitment to honoring the essence of the classic fairy tale while avoiding unnecessary drama, and this positive reception is fueling excitement for her version of Snow White.
That we literally listened to just that, 30-second bit of music like 50 times, and both of us had chills. I was like, oh my god, it's literally a princess. This is literally a fairy tale. This is so crazy. We just could not get enough of it, and I truly could not believe that this was actually happening.
And get this, if Snow White from Daily Wire really fares better at the box office than Disney's original film, it will be a huge Hollywood twist that no one anticipated. The drama doesn't end there, however, since Disney's live-action remake has additionally, the film's visuals have drawn harsh criticism from fans who feel that it is far too CGI-heavy, has excessive green screen effects, and lacks the enthralling, magical vibe of the original. One fan even joked that at least Peter Dinklage got what he wanted: no seven dwarfs, but the fans certainly didn't. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper's Snow White is doing well in comparison: no drama, no controversies, just a movie that fans are genuinely excited about. Forget the rumors swirling around Rachel. Sources claim that she's furious about Brett's version of Snow White. According to one insider, Rachel even allegedly said mine was better when she heard about Brett's film. Whether or not that's true, it's clear Rachel isn't taking the competition well, and it's starting to show. Rachel has been catching heat coming from every angle, not just for her remarks on Snow White, but also for causing political controversy shortly after Disney released the film's teaser. Many fans were offended by Rachel's tweet, "Always remember Free Palestine." This was particularly true given that her co-star, Gal Gadot, has been vocal about her support for Israel. Rumor has it that the two aren't exactly best friends on set, and fans are already anticipating how awkward the promotional tour for this film will be if they can't even stand each other. Some fans have even called for a boycott of Disney's Snow White. The political drama, the CGI concerns, and the casting disputes Disney's live-action Snow White is beginning to seem like a disaster waiting to happen, but Brett Cooper's adaptation is dazzling audiences with it. The burning question at the moment in the realm of film and fairy tales is which adaptation of Snow White will emerge as the superior version: Disney's contemporary feminist reimagining or the Daily Wire's faithful retelling of the classic story. As both adaptations prepare for their releases, anticipation is reaching a fever pitch, and fans are eagerly awaiting to see how this cinematic duel will unfold. Disney's version of Snow White is poised to update the classic tale with a modern twist. Emphasizing themes of empowerment and leadership, this adaptation seeks to inject a fresh, progressive perspective into the age-old story. By reimagining Snow White as a more independent and assertive character, Disney aims to resonate with today's audience, which values strong, self-reliant female protagonists. This ambitious approach has certainly stirred up a lot of buzz and excitement. However, it has also attracted a fair share of criticism. Longtime fans of the original 1937 film have voiced concerns that Disney's update may stray too far from the magical essence that defined the beloved classic. They worry that in its pursuit of modern relevance, the film might lose the charm and simplicity that made the original so enduring. In stark contrast, the Daily Wire's adaptation promises to remain true to the traditional narrative of Snow White. This version is committed to honoring the fairy tale's original spirit, without the overlay of contemporary political themes. By sticking closely to the beloved story's classic elements, the Daily Wire's adaptation appeals to those who cherish the fairy tale as it was originally told. This approach has resonated deeply with fans who feel that Disney's revisions compromise the integrity of the story. For these audiences, the nostalgia and timeless qualities of the original Snow White are paramount, and they appreciate the Daily Wire's dedication to preserving these aspects. The clash between these two adaptations highlights a broader cultural debate about the evolution of classic stories and the balance between tradition and modernity. Disney's approach reflects a broader trend in contemporary media where classic tales are being reinterpreted through a modern lens, often incorporating themes of empowerment and inclusivity. This shift can be seen as an attempt to make these stories more relevant to today's audiences and to address evolving societal values. Conversely, the Daily Wire's commitment to a traditional retelling underscores a desire to preserve the original narratives and values that have made these stories iconic. For many, there is a sense that altering the core elements of these classics can dilute their impact and charm. This adaptation is not just about nostalgia, it's also about respecting the cultural significance and emotional resonance of the original tales. As the release dates for both versions draw nearer, the debate between these two adaptations continues to generate significant interest and discussion. Fans and critics alike are eager to see how each version will handle the beloved story of Snow White and address the challenges of blending tradition with modern sensibilities. Ultimately, the success of these adaptations may hinge on their ability to strike the right balance between honoring the past and embracing the present. Whether Disney's modern reimagining or the Daily Wire's faithful retelling will win over audiences remains to be seen. But what is certain is that this cinematic showdown will be a fascinating spectacle for moviegoers and fairy tale enthusiasts alike. As the release dates for both films approach, fans are on the edge of their seats, excited to see which version will capture their hearts. Will Disney's attempt to modernize Snow White find success with a new, contemporary audience, or will the Daily Wire's faithful retelling prove to be a compelling homage that wins over traditionalists? The stakes are high, and the competition is fierce. With anticipation building, it's anyone's guess whether Disney can salvage their version, or if the Daily Wire is on the brink of pulling off a major Hollywood triumph. Upset? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out my next video for more tea on this ongoing saga.